Right now, someone is Googling your competitor's name. They're not browsing, they're not comparing, they have their wallet out and they've decided to buy something in your category. And most brands are just letting that sale go. But here's the thing, competitor keyword targeting is one of the most underused levers in Google Ads. We run accounts spending 50K, 80K, over 100K a month, and almost every single one of them has less than 1% of their budget going towards competitor traffic. One client spent $80,000 in a month and only $100 on their competitor campaigns. That's less than 0.1%, and that's just a complete accident. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we intercept that traffic, legally, ethically, and profitably. I'm going to show you 3 specific methods, how to set each one up, and the mistakes that make most people give up on this before it even has a chance to work. So let's get into it. So here is exactly how to start making the most out of your competitor traffic and how to legally steal buyers from your competitors with Google Ads. Let's get right into it. This is the kind of result you can achieve when you are effectively targeting competitor traffic. You can see right here, we were running a competitor campaign and getting a 7x return at a 5% conversion rate on this specific competitor term, which is absolutely insane. The reason we're able to achieve that is because we had such a good offer in comparison to this competitor. And that's one of the things that I'm going to outline later on in this video. But for a little more context, let's start diving into it. Why does this work? Why do competitor campaigns actually work, and how do you get them right? Well, the reason they work is because when people are searching for a competitor name, they have wallet out intent. They basically have their card in their hand, ready to buy whatever they're searching for. If they're looking for a brand name, just like if you're running a branded campaign, people are ready to buy. They trust the brand, they trust what they're looking for, and they know what they want. So if you can intercept them at that moment right there, you can often steal that intent and leverage it and piggyback off that intent from that brand and bring them to yours. Now, alongside that, it's also a guaranteed new customer. A big issue with Google is that people find that they struggle to effectively acquire new customers because they lean too heavily into remarketing traffic, into branded traffic, but competitor traffic, it's people who aren't searching for you in any capacity, right? And they're very likely to be about to make a purchase with your direct competitor. So if you're bringing this person over to your brand instead, that's almost a guaranteed new customer. It's like a 99% chance that they're new. It's really, really good for incrementality and new customer acquisition. Now, also, most accounts spend less than 1% on competitor traffic. This is a true statistic. Like from what I've seen, most of the accounts that I look into are spending so little on competitor traffic, less than 1%, that they have no idea whether it actually works. And admittedly, it doesn't work for every brand with every competitor because you have to have strong offers, strong pricing, competitive products, all that good stuff. But you need to test it effectively. And if you're not giving it even 1% of your budget, that's not enough money to test a competitor campaign and see if it works. So when you look at all these factors, there's a very good business case for running a competitor campaign, at least testing it in your account. But why do most of them fail? Why do they never get 1% of spend in most accounts? Well, one of the most common reasons is setting the TROAS too high. So if you set a 1000% TROAS or a 500% TROAS on a competitor campaign, you'll find that Google will try to target people who are very likely to convert and almost guaranteed to convert essentially. And those people simply do not exist in competitor traffic. The signals that Google has access to are not good enough to identify someone searching a competitor term and find whether they are going to get your 5x ROAS, because it's so far detached from the product and the brand that you have that it's impossible for an automated algorithm to effectively target the right people at TROAS like that. And even then, I wouldn't even recommend setting an excessively high TROAS on a non-branded campaign, let alone competitor. You need to be very, very specific with your bidding and competitor campaigns to actually leverage them properly. Next up is most of the time, competitor traffic just leaks into PMax with no control. You see this all the time. If you're running a PMax campaign, if you go into your search term report, you will probably see multiple competitor names in there. You'll see multiple people who are in your industry selling the same products as you, but they're not your brand. And PMax naturally targets that traffic when you don't have other campaigns to capture it because it thinks it can get a purchase through there. And yes, you can add negative keywords, but the problem is the copy in your PMax campaign is never going to be optimized for these competitors, so you just shouldn't be targeting them there. I highly recommend adding negative keywords in your PMax campaigns for competitors because it's very unlikely that you'll convert at a profitable rate. You need competitor-specific campaigns, which is what we're walking through today. And then a weak offer. This is honestly the most common reason why competitor campaigns fail, because brands simply do not have a better offer than the competitor they're targeting. If you have someone searching for a competitor term, it's clear that they know your competitor to some extent. They'll know what they're selling, they'll know what the price is roughly, they know what the offer is. And if you bring them through to your page with a competitor ad, you successfully secure the click, and then they get on the page and they go, oh wow, this sucks. This is nowhere near as good as a competitor's product. I'm going back, I'm going to buy from the competitor. Then in that case, you've just wasted all that money on a click, which is usually pretty expensive because it's not your brand name and not a non-branded term. So you need to make sure that you have a strong offer. Your offer needs to be at least as good as your competitor, if not significantly better. The better it is, the bigger advantage you have, the more likely you are to be profitable in these types of campaigns. By the way, if you want me to implement my entire 8-figure Google Ads system for your e-commerce brand, SaaS company, service-based business, whatever you are, as long as you run Google Ads, just click the first link below to book a call with my team. So there's 3 main ways to do this, to run competitor campaigns effectively in Google Ads. The first one, and the most common one, is just a brand keyword search. So the brand name, the competitor brand name, you want to be targeting it in exact or phrase match. So let's say your competitor in this case is HelloFresh. You want to target just HelloFresh in exact match or phrase match. And also make sure you are using max clicks and not TROAS. If you start out with TROAS, you're just going to rinse money, you're just going to blow your budget, or you're not going to spend anything at all. Start with max clicks or manual CPC, which is even better. Manual CPC is the best for competitor campaigns because it gives you a very tight control on your bids, and make sure that you're manually watching those bids and making sure they're not going crazy, because it can be quite expensive to bid on competitor traffic. Now, you can also do this through demand gen or display campaigns. So you can create custom intent audiences, which basically show your campaign tell your campaign to target people who have visited websites of your competitors. So you can also do this in PMAX as well, but PMAX is very difficult to control, so I typically don't recommend that. But in your demand gen or display campaigns, you can input custom segments of audiences of people who have visited other websites and basically try and guide Google towards these people who have intent to your competitors. They're searching for your competitors, they're going to competitors' websites, and you can tell Google to target these people, right? And then you can display them, either video ads, display ads, whatever you like, to try and bring them over to your site. And this is going to warm up the middle of your funnel. So it's going to be able to essentially give you that middle of funnel aspect in the competitor domain, where you're targeting people when they have some level of intent, but they're not entirely sold just yet. Comparison searches. Now this is really at the bottom of the funnel. So this is people who are most likely to move over to you, right? It's when people are searching for alternative or reviews queries. So if someone's searching for HelloFresh competitor, HelloFresh alternative, HelloFresh reviews, you can jump in there, slide in and show, hey, we're actually better than the competitor for these few reasons. And that'll really help you out. You need to make sure that you have switching focus ad copy, so it emphasizes why they should switch. Here's an example of a competitor ad that Marley Spoon was running on HelloFresh here. You can see that they give you sort of a very clear comparison where HelloFresh offers up to $200 off, and these guys offer up to $220 off. So it gives them a very clear reason to switch over here. I mean, someone who doesn't have any loyalty to HelloFresh will look at this and just simply go, oh, well, 220 is a bigger number than 200, so I'd rather save a bit more money and go with Marley Spoon. It's a very, very attractive offer, to be honest. And because they're targeting the HelloFresh term, they can get very, very clear targeting and clicks, and they can really clearly show their USP in comparison to the competitor. And that is through this brand keyword search. They're probably running exact or phrase match on the HelloFresh keyword. Now, when you decide to deploy these different targeting methods, you need to make sure that you're following these execution tips, one of which is a dedicated landing page. This will increase your conversion rate by a significant amount. If you create an entire landing page that clearly outlines why you are better than the competitor, it's almost impossible for them to not go with you. This is an example, right? High level versus System.io. If you had someone who was searching for System.io and you were high level, you would guide them through to this landing page after showing them a really good ad, something like this with a really compelling offer, and then you bring them through to this page. And then when they reach this page, you'd show them every other reason why you guys are better than the competitor. And when you outline all of these reasons, it becomes so clear why they should pick you rather than the competitor. You can get really good conversion rates. You can get more profitable conversion rates sometimes than non-branded terms. So I highly recommend creating a landing page. Nowadays with AI, it only takes 5-10 minutes to create a landing page like this. You just prompt it and let it go to the races, and it will give you a massive increase in conversion rate if you're targeting correctly. Next up, allocate 5 to 10% of your total budget. So again, we don't want to be spending a huge amount on competitor campaigns, but if we're spending less than 1%, you're not going to get any significant data. You're not going to get anything to actually work with, and you're not going to get any results. If you allocate 5 to 10% of your total budget, that's usually a good range to work with. Start at the lower end. Again, don't start with a crazy amount, but give it enough to test with. This is just a good range to kind of work with and get an idea. Make sure you spend at least 4 to 5x your CPA as well before you actually kind of write it off and say this won't work for me. You want to spend a good amount to give it a real chance. And if you start to see success, you can also start leveraging automated bidding. Use SpyFu to find targets as well. If you're not familiar with SpyFu, it's a third-party tool. It's quite cheap, I believe. It's just a tool that allows you to see competitor insights on paid and SEO as well, so paid and organic search listings. It's very, very helpful to find. If you look at your own domain, for example, you'll see competitors who are bidding on similar keywords to you. If you just search for specific phrases, you'll see people who are bidding on similar keywords to you. You can get insight into how much they're spending, who they are, and then when you find these targets, you can create campaigns around them. But I imagine you probably already know most of your competitors, so you can just build them out without needing a tool in most cases. Now, ad copy rules. This is also very important. Don't name the competitor directly. You'll notice up here in this example that Marley Spoon does not name HelloFresh correctly. It is very risky to name them directly because you can have copyright issues and Google policy issues as well. So just don't use their name. Just poke fun at them, subtly, imply that you are a better solution than them, but don't use the exact name. You can use innuendos. You can use kind of just jokes related to the name. But yeah, again, don't use the exact brand name. Lead with your strongest differentiator. So make sure that you are really showing them why they should switch over to you. You need to sell that click. Again, they already have a level of trust for this competitor, so you need to sell exactly why they should click on your ad instead of the competitor's ad. Make your ad copy so strong and make sure it's aligned with your best differentiator, your best offer, the thing that makes you stand out the most. Again, really great example here. $220 off instead of $200. It's very, very clear, right? Clear differentiator. And no competitor bashing. I mean, again, you can poke fun at it, you can play around and sort of be joking in your ad copy, but don't directly say that competitor X sucks, or competitor X is terrible, or everyone hates competitor X. That, again, will probably violate some Google policy, and it just won't be good for you in the long run. You could also get messages from the teams, from the other brand's lawyers, and you could get cease and desist letters. Don't recommend it. It's a bad idea. But yeah, if you deploy all of these things I mentioned here, these targeting mechanisms, you follow these strategies and tips for execution, and you roll out specific landing pages, you make very compelling offers, you can be getting results like this on competitive traffic. You can get a 7x return in some cases if you have a really good offer. So to recap the 3 methods, you have brand keyword search campaigns for bottom of funnel wallet out buyers, demand gen and display for following those buyers through the mid funnel while they're still deciding, and comparison searches, alternative versus reviews, for the people who are already having doubts about your competitor. The reason most people write this off is execution. They run one campaign, set a 1000% target ROAS, spend $100 a month and call it dead. And that's not a proper test. You need to give it real budget, give it a dedicated landing page, and give it time. Your competitors are spending money on Google every single day. Some of those buyers are one well-placed ad away from becoming your customers instead. So go out there and get them.